There is no like 401k.
100%.
So what are you doing?
You need real estate.
You need real estate to be able to do that.
You need real estate. And I highly believe everybody needs real estate to protect from inflation.
Yeah. Enjoying it so far?
Girlfriend, you have raised the bar.
Yeah.
I've been to other places in Mexico. It's my first time in Cabo. And wow. I think it's the surroundings and us women being together.
Yeah.
I haven't left the resort yet.
Yeah.
But Cabo's like on my list.
Good.
Yeah, to return to.
Good.
Yeah.
So before we jump into, our back and forth conversation, why don't you go and share with everybody a little bit about yourself, and then how did you get into mortgage?
Very loaded question, my dear. But so I was born and raised in Long Beach, and I currently live in Long Beach. It seems like I've never left my bubble, but I definitely have. And I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I have a son that's 11, fur baby, and he's 14. And I really love being every facet of motherhood and all those things.
And tell me, how did you get into mortgage?
So I got into mortgage right out of high school, which is very interesting. So from Baskin-Robbins to Bank of America, at 17 years old, they placed the top 3 students in ROP in the mortgage division. And I was one of them.
Okay.
And I was in mortgage servicing for about 3 or 4 years. And I was about to become a loan originator at 21 years old. And I knew that if I started making money like that, I would not finish school.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let me follow my passion. I want to go to school. So I went back to finish my degrees in communication and business.
Okay.
Which was really a great call because it's very general.
Yeah, you can do anything.
I can do anything. I use it every day.
Yep.
And so, and the business side was entrepreneurship, which ended up being perfect.
Yeah.
And so I did that, ended up doing journalism. I mean, technically my degree should have been journalism.
Yep.
And I did broadcast journalism for 10 years, multimedia.
Okay.
Behind the camera, in front of the camera, started with production assistant, directing, and then did hosting, TV hosting.
Okay.
Which was a lot of fun.
That's very interesting. Share with me how you take your broadcast journalism experience and then weave that into mortgage.
Yes. It's been amazing because there's times where I'm like, damn, if I just would have took loan origination at 21, where would I be right now? And I'm glad you asked that question because it's all a part of the journey. And I don't regret any of it. You know how they have a chart where it's like success looks like.
Yeah, it's like that's true, right? You're just like, yeah.
It is literally like my life, right? Like, and so I would say, luckily, being on camera, having a presence is only getting more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
It's only getting more relevant to be out there and put yourself on camera, and just really truly be who you are. Yeah. And I initially was doing these really cool listing videos with do you see those?
I saw those.
Like
I was
music video.
dang.
Yeah. I'm like, ain't nobody.
Before anybody else was doing that.
Before anyone else was doing that.
I saw that.
I walked through these listing videos, but it was cool because I got to tee up the listing agents that I worked with, because it's like the listing agent isn't doing it themselves. They have a TV host that is also a mortgage broker walking through the house and then able to lift them up and make them look like a bazillion bucks and their listing. I stopped doing that. I said, let me cool it because I really need to be more thoughtful with who my partnerships are with. Yeah. That's a nice way to put it, right?
Big lesson.
Yeah.
Share with me, because I think the audience would really benefit from this. Top tips for being real good on camera.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you. Well, top tips for being on camera is you genuinely really have to talk to one person.
Okay.
So when you are speaking to the camera, if you are thinking, I'm talking to everybody, what do I say? I'm going blank. I don't know how to be natural.
Yep.
It's because you're not talking to one person.
Okay.
And when you identify that one person that you're speaking with, and it could start with your best friend who maybe has never bought a home before, and just speak to that one person. And that alone will just allow you to just be yourself, because every day, whatever your craft is, you know it like the back of your hand. There's no reason to go blank just because there's a camera there.
Isn't that funny? Like when you're like, I just need you to be you. And people are like, you turn the camera on and it's like, I don't even know how to do that, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. It feels unnatural to be natural on camera.
Yeah.
And so my top tip is to genuinely and initially just talk to one person, right? Another thing as we start to niche ourselves is to really be clear on who that person is. So initially start with maybe someone you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then you start to align your messaging with who you really want to connect with.
Who you want to work with.
Yeah.
I know that in my business, like, I would love to say that like I was the one that like figured that out, but it was really like God just like showing me the way.
Yeah.
And like, years ago, working with everybody, and I know Rebecca Richardson says this a lot, like if your like messaging is to everyone, you're really talking to no one.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh, that's right. Like she's brilliant. But as life, would play out, it was like, oh, the investor sector became just exclusively who I work with.
Yeah.
And then once you're clear on that, it's like
Yes.
the other stuff, like it gets very, 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 very clear for you.
Right.
Who you work with, what you're going to talk about, all that kind of stuff. It's like everything falls into place once you kind of understand that concept. So
And
I
it's
love
an
all that.
evolution,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You had to evolve to start, working
And you
with
got to take the
investors,
steps, right?
right?
Like that's part of, I think, what holds a lot of people back is they think they have to know it all to get going. And I'm like, no, like, ladies, like, I made like a grip of money. I closed like nearly 19 million last year, all in investor stuff. No website, no CRM, no nothing, like no tools.
Wow.
None, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that's not a good business plan. It's not a good business plan. But that ability to be able to take the steps without having the tools, then once you have the tools, which I hope they're coming. And, you just don't, we're really the ones that hold ourselves back the most.
Agree.
It's not this other stuff.
Agree.
Yeah. So share with me, I know you hit Scotsman's Guide, and, for those of you watching, Scotsman's Guide ranks originators around the country every single year, and it's very difficult to get on there. And so what are your lessons? Because that's like a lot of loans to do. What are your lessons pre and post that?
Well, so I was working 18-hour days. So I had 2 shifts. I literally only had a break to eat.
Yeah.
And it was me and an unlicensed loan officer assistant who was just putting together the, couldn't have done it without him, but they're putting together the applications. That was before I had arrived. So we were physically putting the applications in for all these loans. I'm like, wow, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And I was at the time, I didn't realize I was having high blood pressure. I didn't understand what I was feeling. I'm like, why am I dizzy? I don't understand this feeling. I would take cold showers to try to snap out of it. And so at the time, I didn't realize what my body was experiencing.
Yeah.
And I figured it out afterwards.
Yeah.
And so although it was an amazing feat to accomplish and to do, a couple of lessons is one, I needed to honor and understand my body a bit more.
Yeah.
If I was doing cardio, working out, I could have got in front of that, but I wasn't honoring my body.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And then the other thing is I got hit really hard with taxes, multiple 6 figures.
Yeah.
And not okay. And with that is like why I could have invested in a full-time licensed loan officer assistant and not had this tax liability and not work these ridiculous hours and not with my health. So for me, it was understanding like when you are earning so much, it is literally meant to grow business around you. It's meant to hire people. It's meant to disperse. It's meant to literally just be abundant with it. Isn't that interesting? Right?
Yeah.
You have to literally have to
spend it.
You have to spend it.
So many people, they're so clenching on to what they have.
Yeah.
And then they wonder, why can I attract more? And it's like, you have to be able to open up and trust.
Yes.
That it's just energy, right? So in that circulation of energy, you're opening up that flow.
Yes.
And it's scary, right? And that's why a lot of people don't want to do it.
Right.
This past year, because I got my taxes done. And I was like, what happened? I remember the tax people I was working with was like, well, you made a lot more money that year. And I was like, yeah, but you do my bookkeeping. And I would have loved a phone call to be like, hey, you need to do something or this is going to be real expensive for you. And here's what I would suggest. And so just this past year, I started working with actually a tax strategist. She's going to be on the YouTube show and the podcast as well. She's incredible. But there's like, nobody teaches you this stuff. And we really learn because we usually get ourselves like up a creek without a paddle. And we're like, what am I doing wrong?
Why isn't there anything? And that's, I got something cooking in the back of my mind about that because in mortgage as well, I want to be the person that I didn't have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like this community that you're building, that I'm a part of, thank you, is really to exchange those ideas. And I think to have a platform like this to share how other women can not have to deal with, oh, let me figure this out by having mistakes or losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Like, why don't they teach people how to be entrepreneurs from the get-go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So it was a lot.
100% agree. Share with me your biggest reward / benefit with being a part of this community that we're all building together.
I have always been the only woman in my company. And so it definitely feels really good to not feel alone.
Yeah.
And also to discuss ideas. And there was a lot of, I just recently started doing coaching and it was very masculine. And with that, it was like, and I saw you do a post about it too. I'm like, I don't want to outwork anyone.
I don't want that business plan.
I don't mind working hard. It is in my work ethic. I have really high work ethic. And it's not that, but it's like, it's this hustle and grind. And it's, it's more aligning with who I want to be around and who I want to work with, who I can serve and support and have a amazing respect for each other, and so I think a lot of it is, exchanging the ideas and having the community and traveling. I'm like, I've always wanted to travel with friends.
Same.
Right?
Yeah.
Girlfriends, and I've always admired when I see like groups of women like having girl time and retreats and here we are.
Yeah. It's so funny is sometimes I think like when we have male dominated stages and it is that messaging of like outworking the next person, I'm like, that is the wrong message for this audience. Like I need to like motivate you. I'm like, they're obviously motivated, right? Like they took time out of their busy schedule to be here for you to give them like the gold. And you want to tell them things like, well, if your why is strong enough. And I'm like, go fuck off. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
You're right. Obviously, or they wouldn't have been here, right? They're already showing you they're taking those next steps. They're obviously motivated. And what I find, it's either one, they honestly don't know what to do. And so showing them the mechanics. And then two, it's, what is the limiting belief that's really getting in the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
The limiting belief. The work is a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Than KPIs.
I build my business off of 0 KPIs.
Yeah.
It's like, how does it make me feel?
Yeah.
And then also like part of the business plan for me is working with like people that can help heal my heart. Right.
I love that.
So that if something happens, I don't get triggered or my triggers as small as possible so you can get back in the game faster, And so the goal is we're all going to get spun out and things are going to happen, but how quickly can you make that transition from, losing a client or whatever it is to being like, oh, okay, I can get back in. And when the shorter you can make those happen, the more successful you can be. What has been your biggest limiting belief that you have had to get over?
So there's several layers to that. There is, and I did the Amore, the core wound healing.
Oh yeah.
That was deep.
Yeah.
So deep.
Yep. You're like, ooh.
I was not ready. I'm like, I've done the work. I've peeled my onions, okay? And apparently,
always more to peel.
apparently I did not.
Yeah.
But so the story, the first story I discovered was Everything is Harder for Chenine.
Oh, yeah, I had that one too. Everybody else can have success but Paige.
It's easy. It's easy for everybody else. And you know, and that story actually came from, and I did want to share this part is, you know, my parents had me when they were 16 and 18.
Yeah.
And I grew up with them. And there was no, my grandparents on both sides had a lot to do with helping raise me.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any parenting per se. Not to knock on them, they're just kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had to grow up really fast. I saved up for a car from 16 to 17, had my own apartment at 17.
Oh, wow.
Put myself through full-time work, full-on adult at 17.
Can I just say, when my kids, like, they want to, like, spin out, I'm like, listen, if so-and-so can deal with this, you're going to be fine.
You'll be okay. You will survive. Right?
There's people that have less that just are, I don't know, like, where you get that from, but, you know, kudos to you. But keep going.
Thank you. Yeah. So, so I worked really hard to get where I am, and then, you know, I remember even in high school, you know, people were able to go to prom. They were able to have their parents pay for their tickets and I had to pay for everything, my own school supplies. Like it was really hard. Yeah. You know, and my mom was a single mom. I don't knock her for it. It's just, we came from nothing. Yeah. I've come from nothing. You know? And so with that, there was like, my path there's resistance. For everyone else, it looks like this. For me, you know, it's all over the place, you know, but, I was, that thought of me having to work harder to achieve things became my block, my expectation of having to work harder or having to put in more time than somebody else. And it kept showing up in all different places. And I had to figure that out for myself. And I had to also realize that I was also carrying feelings of irresponsibility and unworthiness. And that wasn't even mine to carry. There was a lot of guilt with my parents that having me so young with those feelings. So I realized, like, even healing through generational trauma, that is how I get to the next level. It's not necessarily, and that's in this group as well. It's not necessarily, you know, hitting more measures and metrics. It's really understanding, you know, who I am, which was my intention.
It's like the letting go of things that don't serve me, things that are not mine, and then being able to remember who you really are.
Yes. Who am I?
Love it. I love it. We're going to go here.
I
was like, do we go here? So and I've shared this on social, but the past handful of years I've been working with some shamans that come here and we do plant medicine. And that is the experience of, like, being able to take, and y'all are going to think I'm crazy, and that's okay. That's fine. Being able, because we get energy that gets stuck in our bodies, you know, past hurts, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, in the wild, when, say, the rabbit is chased, when the rabbit's being done chased, it will lay over and violently shake that out. And as humans, we don't do that because we, you know, have our brain. We're, you know, we can rationalize that we don't need to do that. And so we get these things, like, just think like when you're driving and then, like, the police officer, like, is behind you or pulls you over, and that cold rush of, like, your heart dropping, and, like, it's a physical response, right? And this is just somebody pulling you over. This is not somebody breaking your heart. This is not unmet expectations. This is not, like, I'm unworthy, all that stuff. Like, that's heavy shit, right? This is just getting pulled over by a police officer. You might get a ticket. That's going to cost you, you know, $150.
Right.
But that gets in our body, right? And then we store it. And so the process of being able to work with, you know, energy healers. I have a great energy healer in Long Beach, by the way. She's incredible. Incredible.
Is her name Sarah?
Her name's Kelsey.
Okay. Haven't met her yet.
Hey, Kelsey.
Okay.
And being able to use things like plant medicine or breath work or any sort of energy work to unlock those things that we carry, you know, and over time, you know, sometimes it's like your own shit. Sometimes it's like generational stuff. And I know generational trauma sounds real crazy to y'all, but I don't know if you know this, but there was a Nobel Peace Prize won on like showing that the eggs that are in your grandmother is your mom, right? But those eggs in her are you. And that happens at conception. And so all that gets imprinted on our DNA that whole time. Even from a scientific background, if like, a scientist, my sister's a scientist, so when I get all spiritual with her, she's like, wah, wah, wah. But even from a scientific background, like there's proof of that. And so I know for myself, the more work I do in that healing, it's just the more money I make.
Right,
Right. So I love that you're on that journey too.
I love that. And I wanted to, in that vein, there was a saying that instincts are memories from our ancestors imprinted in our DNA. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I love that.
And isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
and
being
it's
able
true,
to trust that. Yeah.
and it's true. And that means that there's something to being connected with our mothers, our grandmothers, and all of that,
Yeah. I had this beautiful experience. We're going to talk about this too. You can tell me how you feel. So I've been working with divine masculine and feminine energies the past year-ish. And so the most recent one, ceremony I did, we came up to this clearing after a whole night of being in plant medicine, which very physically demanding, this one for me. But we came up to this clearing to watch the sunrise, and the shaman was talking about the masculine and feminine. So father, son, and Mother Earth, right? That's how they two work together.
Wow.
And so it was like he was singing and they're drumming and we're watching the sunrise. And it was like the masculine rising and being able to shine down his light on the feminine, on Mother Earth. And in return, she blooms. All the flowers bloom, the like birds sing, the water runs, but it only happens with that grace and that providing from the masculine. And I remember just like watching this and going like, this is so crazy. And then looking in my own life, like, how do I interact within my masculine, right? Because we have that in our businesses and in our bodies, like that masculine of hard work and structure and strategy, and that has to be there.
Right.
But we can also bring in that feminine quality of creativity and softness and attraction instead of like hunt, right? I gotta like earn the business. And it's like, well, maybe I can attract the business, right? Instead of having to like outwork everybody, like maybe we can do this with ease and grace, right? And being able to like change our even the semantics around it. Like the past year I was like, okay, everything around like hard work. Yeah. Maybe it don't have to be hard.
Right.
Maybe it can happen with ease and grace.
Right.
Right. And it's like, ooh, I want to stay in that.
I want to stay in that.
That's how I want to do my business.
Right.
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 Feels so much better.
That's why I'm here, girlfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I was really tired of being in the masculine energy, and I want to settle into softness, and I want to just really enjoy being feminine, and I'm loving motherhood. Yeah. And sometimes at times I'd be like, oh, I got to take this call or step out. And I'm like, no, not really. I'm at my son's game. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Bringing more balance. Or not even balance. Somebody, I think my friend Cheryl was like, it's like harmony. Yeah. Instead of, because there really is no balance, right?
Agree.
That there's like, you can't take this and like ticky-tack, like the scale, whatever kind of scale that is.
Yeah.
But it's the harmony. Right.
Harmony.
And so being able to have harmony in our personal lives and our family lives and in our business lives as well.
Yes.
How do you choose to balance that?
So I've been investing in myself a lot more, really investing in how my mind first. Yeah. I started with my mind and I'm implementing now with my body. Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of therapy, different types of therapy. And so that's where I started. Yeah. And that way it can give me, I get rid of mom guilt. There's a lot of mom guilt. And I also have to be proud of what I've been able to do for my family. And also just make sure that I nurture all facets of me. That's okay. I don't have to identify with work. Yeah. And that's where I call myself a recovering workaholic because my worth was tied to what I earned.
Yeah.
Right? But the other side of the token was my belief was I had to work hard. Yeah. And so I've been really working to undo a lot of that. These beliefs so I can like let go a little bit and just be more soft and really enjoy my family.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what I've been doing where, I calendar to make sure when to stop working to pick up my son. I calendar the days that I'm cooking dinner, and I love it.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
You got an amazing kitchen, by the way.
Oh my goodness. I need to be doing the Chenine in the kitchen segments.
Yes.
You were saying I like these segments. I'm like, I got to do them more.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful kitchen. You can share with everybody. You built your house, basically.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, the very first house that I got, I was 25.
Yeah.
And as I'd mentioned before, I had young parents. They were like zero mentorship.
Did anybody own their house in your family?
My parents got a house when I was 8 years old, and then they split. My dad kept it.
Okay.
So when I got the house, there was no this is what you do, and there was not. It was just figure it out. I figured everything out on my own.
Yeah. That's probably why you're successful too. It's being able to have that knack, right? To the figure it out knack. A lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
So,
definitely survival. I'm a survivor. That type of thing.
Yeah.
But that also comes with being masculine, which I'm I'm trying to undo, girlfriend.
Yeah.
So I got the house done dirty by both my real estate agent and my loan advisor. Bad. And that changed the trajectory of my career. I was getting so I wanted to share this part where I was getting offers to be an anchor in Hawaii. Would have done it in a heartbeat. Yeah. Texas and Oregon. And I had to decline it because I was $200,000 upside down in my house. Yeah.
I guess we're staying here.
I guess I'm staying here. And my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time. We were living together, and I'm like, there's just so much going on that I have to make it happen out here in LA. Treated my first house like a forever home, which there's a lesson for me to give my clients on when you go into something, I want you to think of it as your stepping stone. Yeah. So it helps me advise. And then I redid that entire house, every millimeter, redid it. And then I advised so many people how to get rental properties. Yeah. And then I turned that into my rental property. Okay. So now it's going to be paid off in 8 years. Yay. It's my retirement.
Yeah.
Part of it.
I love that. You need to come and speak on the fall about this, because so many, I think I'm going to have Barbara talk on real estate investing, but I'm always amazed in our industry. We know the power of it. Right. And then how many people really aren't doing it. Right. I'm like, this. And couple that with the fact that for most of us being self-employed, there is no 401k.
100%.
So what are you doing?
You need real estate.
You need real estate to be able to.
You need real estate. And I highly believe everybody needs real estate to protect from inflation. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Right?
I agree.
So I'm like when I saw the way that I do business, right? Do business is genuinely from my heart, from all of my everything that I've been through. Yeah. From watching all 4 of my grandparents run out of money, and one of them did a reverse mortgage. If they didn't have a house,
they couldn't have done it. Yeah, right.
Where would they be?
Yeah, on the street. Right?
We genuinely don't know what would have happened, And so for me, it's I really genuinely believe I'm walking the walk. I'm talking the talk. I took the plunge. But I had to watch me supporting other people do it. Yeah. And then currently I'm looking to do my first DSCR. Okay. Yeah, right now. So it started with that, and then I redid my entire house down to the studs and designed the whole thing. And I learned so much about construction. There's a lot that I can also teach,
help and advise,
I've been through it.
I love it. You can see sometimes you can't see it in the moment, but then you can look at those the beauty in the pain, right? Oh, well, we went through this, but I didn't have the lesson. I had to learn those lessons, and then now I can bless other people with that process.
That's how I feel, because I'm like, why did I go through this? And did I carry that bullshit story about it had to be harder? Yeah. Or do people just suck? Yeah. That's it.
Sometimes it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. People suck. That was kidding. Restoring faith in humanity is being around women. Yeah. I'm sorry, I love men too, but but it definitely there's lessons in it, and I look at that and I'm like, damn, going through this and understanding construction and being able to tell people that want to build ADUs or get a fixer-upper. Yeah, I've stopped a client from doing what I did, which is, renting out the house and upgrading. And I'm like, I want you to look at how that changes your monthly cash flow.
Yeah.
Your budget. Look at your budget. Look at, are you comfortable right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'll stop people because I'm just telling them, like, I want to have people dream, but I just gave them, like, the nitty gritty. Like, look at your bottom line if you were to do this.
Yeah. I always have clients that are like, oh, I have this project that's like usually like fix and flip, and then send me the numbers, and I can just like look at them, and I'm like, they're not on. Like, give me a second. So I have like a form that I'll fill out that'll be like, purchase price, rehab, after repair value, put in your financing costs, and real quick it'll be like, here's your profit margin.
Right.
But I'd be like, 2%. Are you like, that is one screw up, right? That is like one change order away from being under. There's not enough meat on the bone for this one, right?
Right.
And like, you do it enough, it's like I can just look at the numbers and be like, that don't work, right? But they're brand new, and so being able to save them from some of those missteps is really valuable. But you only get it by doing this for so long. Yeah. So share with me over the next 5 years, what does Chenine want to do?
Oh my gosh! Wow. So I should know this. I did do that Chat GPT that everybody was like crying over, and a lot of it was having the right support.
Okay.
So I was going towards becoming a broker owner. And I just only have 3 more classes to do it.
Okay.
But I realized that I wanted to have partnerships and I wanted to have the right support system first before I did that.
Yeah.
Before I learned a whole new level of how to run reports and in that aspect. Yeah. And so I said, you know what, let's not jump right away to becoming a broker owner, and let me just hone in on my process that I have here so I can bring in more and then have a consistent client experience for everybody.
Yeah.
And so the 5-year vision is to become a broker owner, but currently I'm setting up all my systems are set up.
And process and
There's
SOPs
a process.
and yeah. Those are hard. I know. I need to get that done too, because my business is all over the freaking place. I was just on a mastermind call today, and they were talking about one of the ladies was like, we're working on SOPs. Like, we have them all, but they're like all over the place. Like some are in Google Drive and some are over here and some are, and it's like, a lot of times I know for myself, it's just like, just run as fast as you can. And then like, you're like maybe there's a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
That's streamlined and like there's a process.
Absolutely.
And everybody knows what to do. And like, instead of it all like being on us and like,
exactly,
make it happen.
Exactly.
And you know what? Those classes, they stay there, I think, forever. Because I took the real estate classes when I was like 18. My mom made me take them, but I wasn't ready to do it. And so I like went and took the test and failed it. And then I was like, I don't want to do real estate. And then it wasn't, and I was an account executive, never needed a license. It wasn't until after I had my kids and I wanted to jump back in, and then I was like, let me come on this like consumer facing side, and all those classes were still there, so all I had to do was take the test.
See,
that was like 20 years later.
No, really?
Yeah, almost 20. Probably, let's see, I was 18 and I think I was probably about 37 when I got my real estate license and then the NMLS.
You're like, that's good to know.
Yeah, so they're always there. They just bank them, so that was great.
Yeah, I enjoy that I'm dual licensed because it's easy just to like step in, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? Like the sense of urgency is more with allowing my systems that I thank goodness I have a lot more automations now. I'm very proud of what I built, by the way.
Good.
The past 2 years, like really going into my database, I didn't have a CRM, and what a mess.
Yeah.
What a mess. Yeah, I didn't have a CRM. I had to go into my emails and like just dig through years of emails and like allocate everybody. It was a process.
Yeah, I need to do that. It's right now the business is solely reliant upon me, right? And so it's like, that's also a scary place to be because you can't do anything, right? It's like, I can't load that all off on somebody because there is no CRM, there is no SOPs, there is no structure. It's just all here, right? So I'm going through that process right now to put those things into place. And then also like being okay with, like right before this trip, like business like slowed down. I had like 2 loans in my pipeline. I was like, but then it also gave me a lot of time to be like, okay, because I needed to shift. I needed to work on the event and I needed to do other things. And I was like, it's okay.
It's okay.
And then more business will come. That's the hard part, especially when you don't know, when we have to self-generate.
Right.
And we don't know where that next paycheck is coming from, and having that faith that it is going to come.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still in that, like every time it comes, like, oh God, thank you.
Yeah. Where is it going to come from? It's so interesting. We definitely, women in mortgage, we're cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, for sure.
But the same cloth we are.
Yeah.
Because it takes a certain level of faith and motivation and drive and everything else to be self-employed and not know where it comes from and just make it happen and trust.
Yeah. And to wade in that. It can be a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. You have to learn how to carry, not put that out onto other people in the transaction, like learning how to diffuse, hold all the stress, and then not go to like the listing agent or the whatever, because I feel like that happens a lot, that like one agent's crazy, they can't handle the stress, so they're gonna put that all on everybody else, and then it makes like the train just go freaking off the tracks. And it's just like, we don't need to do that to one another. If we learn just to be able to carry that stress and like from a mindful way, it's very beneficial.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you.
I loved this talk. It was wonderful.
Yes, this was great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can't wait for tonight and all of us getting together again.
Oh, girl, we got some surprises tonight. Tonight is celebration night. The last night, we're going to have a big party. So it's going to be great. All right, guys. So go follow our socials. Go follow Chenine. You can catch us across all platforms at Notorious WMN. And then you can go to our website, notoriouswmn.com.
Notorious.